Welcome to the SmartKeys podcast and welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are taking on one of the most persistent and, frankly, most expensive business challenges in modern enterprise. Scaling smarter. We've all seen it, right? Companies get these initial isolated automation wins. They build a couple of successful bots, maybe use a new workflow tool in finance, and it delivers a measurable return.
For sure, a quick win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the problem is converting those quick departmental wins into an enterprise-wide program that actually compounds value year over year. It stays siloed, it doesn't scale, and the momentum stalls. Why is that gap, that chasm between a successful pilot and enterprise scale so incredibly persistent?
I think it really comes down to a deficit of structure. The market has definitively moved past the hype cycle of just proving that, robotic process automation or RPA works.
We know it works.
We know it works. Now, success is defined by how reliably you can operationalize it. Companies aren't looking for experiments anymore. They need a clear strategic map, robust governance, and repeatable processes to move from a handful of bots to hundreds or even thousands.
And the data on this is pretty stark, isn't it?
It is. The data strongly supports this urgency. I mean, McKinsey reported that fewer than 20% of firms have actually used workflow tools to gain a real competitive edge.
Wow, fewer than 20%.
It suggests a vast majority are technically doing automation, but they're failing to structure it into a real competitive advantage. And if you couple that with the fact that IBM confirmed 42% of enterprises were using AI in 2023, you see the problem.
So the tech is being adopted.
The uptake is happening, but the foundational discipline, the process, and data hygiene that you need to make that technology useful at scale, that's the missing piece.
Okay, so if the problem is a structural deficit, then the solution has to be the structure itself. Our mission today is to dive deep into the Automation Center of Excellence, or CoE. We need to understand it not as another department, but as the critical hub.
The central nervous system.
Yes, the central nervous system for all AI, robotics, and automation initiatives. It's the mechanism for setting standards and defining the strategy needed to ensure alignment as all those capabilities evolve. I get the mission, but centralization can sound bureaucratic. If I walked into a meeting where departmental leaders are already pushing for their own autonomy, how do I define the CoE without making it sound like another layer of corporate red tape that's just going to kill innovation?
That's a crucial distinction, and you have to frame it right. We need to frame it as an internal operations studio, not a cost center.
An operations studio, I like that.
Yeah. The CoE is a centralized, self-sustaining team. Its primary job is to run and maintain software robots, but more importantly, to set organization-wide standards and enforce governance. It's the engine room for durable automation.
So it actually enables innovation by taking care of the boring stuff.
Precisely. It ensures consistency, safety, and reusability, which paradoxically accelerates innovation because teams don't have to worry about the architecture or compliance. They just focus on improving the process.
And this model has really taken off recently.
It's fascinating, actually, how quickly this has matured from a fringe idea to an absolute necessity. The Intelligent Automation Network showed that 74% of leaders ran an Automation CoE in 2023.
74%. And what was it before?
That's a huge leap from 54% just 2 years prior in 2021. This explosion in adoption proves that structured, centralized approaches are now the most reliable way to tie automation work directly to business strategy and demonstrate ROI.
That growth rate is staggering.
Yeah.
It really tells you the pain point of siloed automation was simply too great to ignore. We also need to acknowledge that the definition of automation itself is shifting so fast. We're well past simple rule-based RPA that just, mimics mouse clicks.
Absolutely. A modern CoE is focused on intelligent automation. This involves blending that traditional RPA, the mechanical part, with tools like AI and machine learning.
Okay.
This upgrade allows processes to handle far more complex decisions, unstructured data, real-time inputs, all while maintaining that compliance and quality control. Think of it as upgrading from a calculator to a predictive model.
So if the CoE is the central nervous system coordinating all this, then governance is what holds the whole body upright.
Yeah.
But what does strong governance look like practically when we talk about something like technical debt?
Governance is not about saying no. It's about ensuring future maintainability. Technical debt in automation. It happens when a developer builds a bot using a shortcut without proper documentation or standards.
And 6 months later, everything breaks.
Exactly. 6 months later, the underlying ERP system changes an element, the undocumented bot breaks, and the business process just stops. The CoE prevents this by being the steward of technical excellence.
So how do they do that specifically?
It means they enforce standard practices. using approved tooling, building playbooks for error handling, and, most critically, creating a library of reusable components.
Ah, the reusable components.
This is key. Pre-built modules for standard tasks like logging into systems, intake validation, data formatting. So if a department wants to build a new bot, they pull these vetted, secure components from the CoE library. It drastically reduces development time and risk. Without this centralized curation, every team just reinvents the wheel poorly, and the entire ecosystem becomes fragile.
That shift from a fragile, one-off bot to a reusable component, that's where the compounding value really happens. Now let's talk about converting skepticism into funding. The CIO and CTO, they want efficiency, but the CFO needs quantifiable proof, especially in the early days. How does a new CoE deliver those quick, visible wins?
You have to establish a rapid value proposition. The strategy must be to prioritize high-volume, time-consuming workflows first.
The low-hanging fruit.
Basically, yes. These are the processes where compressing cycle times and reducing manual effort translates immediately into measurable time and cost savings. That visible efficiency frees up your staff from rote data entry, allowing them to shift to higher-value strategic tasks, which is the ultimate ROI.
And what about the metrics? What do they track?
Well, we need to move beyond vanity metrics like number of bots deployed. A great CoE focuses relentlessly on detailed operational metrics. They track cost avoidance, the direct savings from labor or system costs. But they also track improvements in SLA adherence, customer experience KPIs.
Because things are faster and more accurate.
Right, and crucially, reduced error rates. For example, if you automate complex invoice processing in finance, you measure the reduction in manual exceptions and the lower cost to serve that function now requires. Those granular details fund the next set of projects.
Let's turn to the team structure, the who. The source material is very clear.
Yeah.
You need to start lean and focused. That 7-member core team seems like the sweet spot for launch. Can we break down those critical roles and how they interact?
Absolutely. That initial core team, which, might grow to 25 or 35 as the program matures, is built around 3 pillars. First, you have the executive sponsors, absolutely critical for securing funding and aligning the CoE strategy with the CEO's goals.
The top-level buy-in.
Yes. Second, the business analysts, who are the lifebloods. And third, the developers and operations staff, who actually build and maintain the run state.
And the interaction between the business analyst and the technical team must be seamless.
It's where success happens. The BA is the process discovery expert. They have organizational empathy. They can map the candidate processes and define the business requirements. They're asking, where does it hurt?
Right.
But they must work hand in glove with the solution architect, a core developer role, who asks, is this technically feasible and can we reuse existing components to solve this? If those two roles don't communicate effectively, you end up building really complex solutions for processes that weren't the right choice to begin with.
And it seems like mindset is just as important as the resume here.
Oh, it's so important to hire for mindset over just paper credentials. These roles require curious experts who can adapt quickly and solve novel problems. We see best practice increasingly relying on internal validation using hackathons or small pilots to assess a candidate's problem-solving skills and teamwork, rather than just relying on a resume.
So you need that balance.
You do. The structure must balance the agility of the business analyst who's focused on the pain points with the technical rigor demanded by the architect to ensure long-term stability.
Okay, I think we've made a strong case for the why and the who. Now we need the practical path, the build roadmap. For an executive who's been tasked with launching this CoE next quarter, where is the absolute first place they should point their team?
You must start with needs, not wants. The very first step is rigorous process analysis. This means collecting actual operations, data cycle times, error rates, staff hours, and analyzing existing work across the enterprise to build a prioritized opportunity pipeline.
And that has to be validated by everyone.
It must be. Validated by R&D, by IT, and by the end users. You are looking for proof of pain, not just someone's desire for a cool automation project.
So once you have that long list, how do you pick?
You need surgical selection criteria. Score every candidate on 3 dimensions: ROI, so return on investment, complexity, and scope. For early credibility, you should focus ruthlessly on tasks that are high volume, rules-based, low in complexity, and high in ROI. These early guaranteed successes build confidence, demonstrate value, and, crucially, they fund the tougher, more complex projects that come later.
That makes perfect sense for the quick wins. But every organization has those truly complex, high-priority processes that senior leadership desperately wants automated. You can't just ignore them, but they pose a massive risk if they fail. What are the tactics for managing that complexity early on?
The sources outline a very intelligent risk management strategy for this. You use short, focused hackathons on those complex, high-priority candidates.
A hackathon. So the goal isn't even to launch a full solution.
Not at all. The goal is to expose technical constraints immediately. Does the legacy system even allow this? Where is the data quality lacking? These quick, contained efforts prevent months of wasted development time. Then, when you move to a formal pilot, you use tight, continuous measurement to feed findings back into the design,
So you're shaping your long-term architecture in real time.
and continuously de-risking the eventual scaling effort. Yes,
And that leads directly into technology selection.
it does. Your toolchain must support this controlled scaling model. Whether you select a leading RPA suite like UiPath or an advanced orchestration platform, the non-negotiable features have to be built in deployment pipelines, strong governance tools, and comprehensive monitoring capabilities. You simply cannot scale if every new automation is a bespoke, manually deployed effort.
And we absolutely have to discuss the role of generative AI in this roadmap. It's new, it's powerful, and it risks introducing huge compliance issues if it isn't managed correctly.
Yeah.
So how does a CoE practically integrate Gen AI under those strict guardrails?
That's the million-dollar question. Gen AI is not replacing the CoE, it's radically augmenting the efficiency of the CoE staff.
Augmenting how?
For example, it helps business analysts by automatically drafting documentation from process recordings, or reviewing process maps and flagging complexity before a human ever touches them. For developers, it can generate realistic, anonymized test data and speed up scripting for low-complexity tasks.
But the guardrails are everything.
They're paramount. This has to happen inside the CoE's standardized environment. Any generative model output used in a production bot must be strictly validated for compliance and accuracy. The CoE ensures that the unpredictable nature of large language models is contained and that the core rules-based automation remains predictable and auditable.
Especially in regulated industries.
Oh, absolutely, especially in financial services or healthcare. The rule is, use Gen AI to speed up the building, but not to bypass the governance.
That is a critical distinction, balancing delivery speed with architectural control. And if we look at the entire roadmap from that initial analysis to leveraging Gen AI, the theme of standardization is it's constant.
Exactly. Standardization is the bedrock of maintainability. Best practice dictates that you standardize your entire development and run environments. You build those reusable components not just for task automation, but for core functions like data intake validation and error logging. And crucially, you instrument all automations with metrics and alerts.
So you're always learning.
Every time a bot runs, you are collecting data that feeds directly into the continuous improvement lifecycle. It ensures the modular, needs-led roadmap allows you to scale without losing control.
So what does this all mean as we wrap up this deep dive? The core insight seems undeniable. The Automation Center of Excellence is the essential mechanism that converts those scattered, isolated departmental successes into sustained, reliable enterprise impact.
And it does that by enforcing governance and prioritizing opportunities based on real business need, not just technical flash.
That's the strategic takeaway then.
I think so. If you remember nothing else, remember the necessity of relentless measurement. The goal is always to move beyond the excitement of the initial pilot to the steady, scalable results that define maturity. You need to consistently measure time saved, errors avoided, and cost reductions, then feed those objective results back into the roadmap.
To secure that continuous funding and trust.
Exactly. That's what you need for real success.
Here is the forward-looking practical thought for you as you look at implementing or maturing your own automation strategy. The entire enterprise rests on balance. You must balance delivery speed, the ability to launch solutions quickly, with observability, security, and maintainability. Achieving that balance is what builds the lasting trust required across the organization for a truly successful value compounding rollout. A huge thank you for tuning in for this deep dive into the source material on the Automation Center of Excellence. This has been an incredibly insightful look at how to properly organize for the future of work and business efficiency. And thank you specifically for tuning in to the SmartKeys podcast.
We encourage you to subscribe to the SmartKeys podcast for more strategic insights on the future of work and business efficiency. Don't miss out on what comes next.
And remember, the full article discussed in this deep dive, Automation Center of Excellence, Centralizing AI and Robotics Initiatives, is available, and the link can be found right there in the show notes.
Until next time, keep scaling smarter.
Keep learning.